Good morning, everyone. It is Friday morning on the East Coast, and my name is Simone Morris, and so happy to greet everybody in the community. As always, I like to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of this community. Today is Friday. Normally, Fridays are pretty low key, and I try to take some time for self care. This morning I had to get up early because I said yes to a meeting that was very informative for me to attend. And it was really a great time. So, see, I got glammed up. And what I want to say about that is with COVID, I have been so accustomed and embracing of loungewear that it's pretty exciting for me to get dressed up. I was running one of the breakout sessions today in a meeting I was invited to attend. So I wanted to get a little glammed up. But when I was getting dressed up, I was thinking, oh, I feel so good. And so, just say yes to the things that make you feel good. So, in terms of getting up, for me, taking a shower is very relaxing and self care for me. And so many thoughts come up, ideas in the shower. So I love that. But getting dressed up makes me feel like I'm going somewhere when in fact I'm going to my office. So that was pretty exciting. I wanted to say to you that my message today is about saying yes to life. And I want to tell you why I say that. What's going on in the world today with racism is heavy. And I remember when George Floyd died, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was so gutted by the fact that it was inhumane. I didn't know him personally, but just the fact that this happened to him because of the color of his skin disgusted me, and it brought me to a low. It really did. And so I was angry. I remember watching Rosewood. I watched this movie on a Sunday before I went to work. And if anybody's ever watched Rosewood, it's a heavy movie. And it's not the kind of movie you watch and then go to work because then you don't want to talk to anyone. And so when George Floyd died, and the information found its way to me. Because I have to tell you, many years ago, I did a TV diet, and I should say a news diet, to protect my sanity and my outlook on life. So I'm very discerning about what I consume from a media standpoint. And I do that for a reason. But anyway, there wasn't anywhere to hide about George Floyd. And it really upset me. It upset me as a black woman. It upset me for the black men in my life, in my community. It upset me on such a deep level. And it was hard for me to push through that place, that low where I got to. And I really did because I thought about my hubby to be Steven. I thought about my cousins. I thought about my cousin that's a jogger. I thought about my cousin that works in the emergency. I started thinking about all the men in my life. And then I started thinking about the women because it's crossing over to women. Breonna Taylor. And I just started getting enraged at what was happening and how could this be happening in 2020. And so I shared that to say that we have to continue to say yes to life. I'm bringing it up because once I was able to work my way back to see a ray of light based on what's happening as a result of George Floyd, based on the unification that's happening around the country, despite hatred that runs rampant. I know that it continues to run rampant because news is finding its way to me every day about some other racial atrocity that disgusts me. It just is inhumane and not right. And I cannot and will not ignore it. I will continue to shine a light on what's happening and come up with strategies that I think can help and educate others on how they can help as well. So I want to encourage you to say yes to life. We are still living despite what's happening. So I do have my good days and I do have my bad days. And yesterday, what fluttered across my desk or in front of me again was yet another killing. And the killings have got to stop. So, you know, I have to choose to say yes to life. I have a beautiful 5-year-old daughter. I have a beautiful family. I have beautiful friends. I have a beautiful business that I'm building. I have a beautiful life. And I try to remember that. And I want you to remember that you also have a beautiful life. So, despite the people out there that are trying to mess with your life, mess with your mental state, you have a beautiful life. Say yes to life. And so this morning I got up and I said yes to life. And here's how I said yes to life. I said yes to attend a meeting on a Friday morning early. Um, I said yes to moderate a breakout session. The conversation was important. I was talking about sponsorship for women of color through my partnership with the Her New Standard organization. I was a part of that conversation this morning, and I got to hear um, someone from Google speak about how they are sponsoring women of color. I think it's important to be at the table for these conversations, especially as a coach who is telling other people about being in the driver's seat. I want to be able to share with you firsthand knowledge that I have about what's going on. And so I found it impactful to be around senior leaders in the HR space talking about sponsorship for women of color. I felt it was important to let my voice be heard, and I will continue to let my voice be heard. So that's how I said yes to life this morning. I said yes to life as I greeted my family. I will say yes to life as I greet my family again, my extended family, this afternoon. I will say yes to life as I continue to pick up a pen and write. You guys know that I have, I almost forgot that I wrote the book too. The book 52 Tips for Owning Your Career and other books. Earlier this week, I mentioned that the fabulous Bridget McGowan released the book Redesigning Your 9 to 5, which I'm a part of. And speaking of which, if you have a story that you want to share, the Bridget is doing a new book, and it's about sharing your stories. It's called A Collective Breath, and I'll put the link to the Collective Breath if you'd like to share your story in an upcoming anthology about the impact of Black Lives Matter. Then you can get involved in this way. Um, I think it's important. The deadline is June 30th for that book. I will be coming up with something. Again, I'm saying yes to life because I'm concerned about the legacy that's left behind. What is the world that I leave behind for my daughter and for the next generation? We've got to say yes to life for those who follow us, to inspire and motivate them. So I always want to talk about careers. In terms of saying yes to life in your career, despite the fact that it's COVID-19, racism is rampant, lots of other noise going on in the world, you still have to say yes to life and yes to your career. Here's how you can say yes to your career. I was in a Facebook group earlier today, and I was reading a comment from a woman who was talking about the fact that her employer was not making it easy for her to work remotely, and um, she was being forced to make a decision about coming back into the office early. because the remote setup was just not working for her manager, her company. And she was, from what I could gather from the post, terrified about returning back to work because of COVID. And I felt inspired to give her some feedback, and I'll give you the feedback here as well. This is not the time to forget about your career. This is not the time to forget about your life. You are in the driver's seat for your career. So if your organization is saying you've got to come back to work and you are not comfortable with that, the first thing you can do is to say yes to life, yes to your career, yes to yourself, yes to your family, yes to your health. Now, what does that look like? Let's talk about that for a moment. It means that, number one, you get to decide if you're going to take what your organization says. If you are not happy in terms of feeling it at the heart level, in terms of feeling it at the mental level with what's being said, you get to decide if you will continue to show up in what you deem to be a somewhat toxic environment. You get to use your voice to share what's happening for you and the fact that this is not something that you want right now. How willing is your organization to work with you? So it's not a matter of going to your organization and saying, I'm not going to be coming in because of COVID. It's more like, in terms of language, I'm having a difficult time right now, and here's why. The impact of COVID for me and the safety of my family remains concerning. I would like to work remotely. Here's how I propose that I can work remotely to support the organization. Here's what I'm going to need to be successful. I need a machine that works. I need internet service. I need the company's help to get internet service to work from home. Here's why I can do my job from home. So you need to show up and not just take what the organization is saying to you, but you need to show up and participate in the conversation. That is what owning your career is about. You not being a passenger, you not being hands off, you being hands on the wheel, butt in seat, in the driver's seat, directing where your career is going. So saying yes means that you are a part of the conversation, you are a part of the movement, you're in the driver's seat for your career. And so if you don't like what's happening, come up with a plan to talk about what will work. So tell your employer what will work in terms of working remotely. And so that's one way that you can be owning your career. Take an audit of what's happening in your career right now. If you're not happy with it, get into the driver's seat and come up with something that will work for you. If you can't figure it out, I have Ask Simone Anything sessions that you can sign up for on my website, SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org. I can work with you in a coaching capacity to come up with something greater. The point is, you don't have to take what you are receiving. If you choose to take what you're receiving that you're unhappy about, then that's on you, and you need to own that you are saying, by not saying anything and accepting what you're being given, you're saying, that's okay. I'm okay with what I'm receiving, when that is in fact not the case. And so I want to educate you today to say yes to life, say yes to your career, say yes to you. So that's one thing. Thinking about your current situation, your current career, and making tweaks right now about what you want to do with what's working and what's not working. The other thing is, this is the time to swim in knowledge. Oh my goodness, there is so much knowledge available right now. You should be making a professional development plan from now to the end of the year. You have to come up with your professional development plan to write down what you want to focus on for your career. On my website, SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org, the shop, I have a professional development plan template that you can use, and that is to help you decide intentionally, what do I need to learn? Now, take me for example. In the CEO role, I've not always performed the way that I want to perform. So for me, between now and the end of the year, I'm very focused on lifting my skills as a CEO. That means that I need to be better at financial documents. I outsource things, but I need to understand the financial statements in my business so I can make strategic decisions. Now is the time, when I'm not on the road all the time, to invest in myself and uplift my game. So I want you to think about what it is you want in your career and what learning do you need to have. Because we can just start consuming every webinar, every this, every that, every this, every that, and not be strategic or intentional about it. So I want you to be intentional about what training, what professional development you want for your career between now and the end of the year. And I want you to plan to do that. So that's number two in terms of owning your career. It's being clear, and it's pouring into yourself, not just from a self-care standpoint, but also from a knowledge standpoint. I've always believed the statement, knowledge is power, and it is. The more knowledge I gain, the more confident I'm able to show up, the better decisions I'm able to make, the more value I bring to the table. So really consider how you want to pour into yourself today, so that you can shift your career narrative, you can shift your career situation, and you can be in the driver's seat for your career. So I talked about looking at your career, doing an audit of it, and deciding what to do. I talked about attitude. You know, Keith Harrell, the late Keith Harrell, said attitude is everything in his book, and it really is. And believe me, you can have a funky attitude. I give you a day. I give you your moment to have a funky attitude, but don't stay in that space, because it's not going to serve you well. You have to move out of that space. As a coach, I think about telling my clients about saboteurs or gremlins that try to have them play less than. And I don't want you to play less than. This is not the time for that. I want you to elevate. As Marianne Williamson said, elevate. Let your light shine. This is the time to let your light shine. And although 2020 has tried to TKO us out, 2020 does not win. We win. We win by letting our light shine. We win by saying yes to life. We win by being in the driver's seat for our career, the driver's seat for life. And that is my wish to you. Please let me know how I can support you on this journey during this time. I am here for you, just as I know you are here for me. And let me just say, I continue to be grateful for the people who remain supporters, allies, champions, advocates for Simone Morris Enterprises. We are going places. Trust and believe when I tell you, the leveling up has begun. Big things are coming for Simone Morris Enterprises. And you can say, you knew me when, when the business was a small business. But I do thank you for your support of Simone Morris Enterprises. If I can be a resource to you, please go to SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org, grab a Ask Simone Anything service, or book a call with me, whatever it is you want to do. Or always you can send me a direct message. But happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. I cannot believe June is almost over. It's been a good month, a month on the upswing, given how 2020 started out. But today, this Friday, I choose to continue to saying yes to life. Yes to the driver's seat. Yes to you. Have a great day, everybody.